Welcome to the Newsletter Journal's Top of Maine podcast, where we take a deeper look at the issues that matter most to the people of Newcastle and Weston County. Newsletter Journal publisher Bob Bonnar and NLJ News editor Alexis Barker will go off the page and dive into the topics that deserve a different look. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Newsletter Journal's Top of Maine podcast. I'm your host, NLJ publisher Bob Bonnar. My co-host is Newsletter Journal news editor Alexis Barker. And Alexis, this is our 50th episode of the Top of Maine podcast. Took us a while to get here. I want to move quicker with the next 50, but congratulations on 50 episodes.
I did see that in the note that it was the 50th, and I don't keep as good a track as you, so I don't recognize those milestones when they arrive until you point them out to me. So it's fun for you to update me.
It's a small but significant one, and and 50 doesn't sound like enough, and it took us, a little more than 2.5, not quite 3 years, a little more than 2.5. So we've been averaging, 20 episodes a year, 18 episodes a year, probably, which I started with wanting one a month, and then I hoped we could get to 2 a month in year 2, and we never did. And here we are in year 3. We're still running about that 1.5 each month average, and we've made a commitment to try and get one out every week. So I am hoping, Alexis, the challenge is that for our Christmas episode next year, and Merry Christmas, by the way, but our Christmas episode next year, I'm hoping it's our 100th, because volume does matter, and people like hearing from us. And I just, as I was on my walk this morning, I was thinking about why we do this. And as I was listening to other podcasts, as I was walking, it's what I do. It occurred to me, I think the modern news consumer, they want to know us. They want to know what we're thinking. They want to know how we think. Just producing the news and giving it to them and claiming that we're all unbiased Walter Cronkites. I just don't think people buy it anymore. So I think they just appreciate a chance that, they want to know us. They do. And so hearing us talk about issues probably is the best way to get to know us in the context of why we're in their lives. So we'll keep offering this up, and I want to do it more consistently. We're going to try and do it every week in 2026. So buckle up and be ready. But no, congratulations, Alexis. We were in the top 50% of podcasts a year ago, based on volume and production. And I think we'll probably be there again when I get the report in another week on how we did in 2025. But I'd really like to double down and see if I can get us see if we can get into the top 20% of the country next year. So congratulations on 50, and here's to the next 50.
Here we go. Hopefully we can come up with some good stuff to keep people paying attention.
Well, but that's part of it. I don't think we need, I think even, and like last week, we ended up doing an hour, just kind of talking, and we're going to do it today. We've got a subject. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence today. I'm fresh off a big day-long artificial intelligence conference, and I'm kind of excited to discuss it and fired up about the topic, and excited to share some, I don't know if they want to call them insight, if I'm giving myself too much credit if I call it insights, but I'd like to share a little bit of what I've been learning in that world with the community, because the conference was on, primarily rural artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence can help rural communities and rural businesses. So that'll be our topic today. But yeah, I don't even know that the topic, looking at our statistics, I don't know that the topic necessarily drives it. Now, obviously, we've had some controversial topics that drive, listenership each week. But yeah, I think people they kind of want to know who's giving them their news. They want to know if they can trust us or not. They want to know what, like I said, what our bias is, what motivates us, where we're coming from. I just think in modern media, consumers want a little more. So I'm happy to give it to them in the form of this podcast. And yeah, since we've added it on YouTube too, that's more than doubled our numbers every week. with the podcast. So excited to expand, do more podcasts in 2026. We're on a new platform now. We're on YouTube as well. Um, and so, yeah, I think it's cool. And I'm excited to start today's podcast. So you ready to go, Alexis?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's pod by God. And today we are talking about artificial intelligence. If you follow me on Facebook, you might have seen that I was at the Four Corners AI conference this week on Tuesday, an all day conference. I've mentioned before on this show that one of the benefits of living here in Durango, I worked at Fort Lewis College, was a sports announcer there for a few years when I first moved down here for 5 years. Um, and there's some things, man. You can check Fort Lewis College if you're on Twitter. Fort Lewis College gets some black eyes, deservedly so, for some of the things that they do. But one of the things they did real well a couple of years ago was identify how big AI was going to be, how integral a part of our lives it was going to be in a very short amount of time. I think they had the right personnel in place. And it was one of those things they said, well, let's go ahead and make a bet on this. And so they created the AI Institute at Fort Lewis College, and they've got a Center for Innovation right downtown that partners with small businesses here in Durango. Um, to do in Center for Innovation to do innovative things to teach businesses how to do innovative things to help not just survive but thrive in modern economies and they're very focused on rural America, rural businesses, and so I've benefited and I think the Newsletter Journal benefits from that. Over the years, I've attended a number of different workshops they offer on rural businesses in rural America, but they've really settled on they do a series of workshops throughout the school year, and I did all of them in the fall semester, one a month on AI, and it's a marketing professor who presents those workshops, and he actually was probably the highlight presenter at the conference on Tuesday, although they had some heavy hitters nationally come in and present there too. But it's here. It's the Newsletter Journal's using it. We've, started printing an AI statement on page 3. It appears every week, but it basically says, hey, we're exploring this technology just like everybody else. It can make you more productive. It can make you more efficient. AI makes mistakes, but so do people. And if you use it appropriately, use it well, AI can help you find mistakes and correct your mistakes. But it has to be run by a person. And in our AI statement basically says that, we are exploring the technology. We want to be leaders in it. I do benefit from having a really good AI program, and they announced at the end of the conference this partnership with some other entities, and they're now branching out to be a center for rural AI to make a lot of these services that I've been benefiting from down here in the last few months available across the country. They're kind of going big time with it, but it's impressive technology. Alexis, you've been using it. I've been telling people my productivity has doubled in the last 4 to 6 months. You've been using a lot. There's some features on Newsletter Journal, like the Know Your Dogies promotion that we're doing now, and some other things that, because of AI, it is freeing you and me up to start doing some other things. We weren't going to be able to I wouldn't be telling you we're going to knock out a podcast a week if it wasn't for AI. I mean, AI has freed up a little bit of additional time for me to be more consistent about our products and do some stuff. And I know it's been a help to you too. And it was something that the first serious look I gave at it was at the press convention a year ago. There was a session on it that I went to, and that was mostly everybody in the room thinking AI was evil. And the session really was just did nothing more than scare everybody. I don't think that was its intent from the presenter, but a bunch of old newspaper people sitting in a room saw nothing but doomsday. But it really, I saw it and I saw some opportunity there. And I've since other newspapermen have too. I was talking to Rob Hicks about it yesterday, but um, yeah, if you're running a small business, we've made no secret the Newsletter Journal is struggling financially. We've launched a nonprofit fund to help support us. Um, but if you're struggling, in most small businesses, small rural businesses are. uh, I don't think you can afford to not look at something that will make you more productive and efficient. And so I want to thank Alexis. She has been my shining star as far as being the first to go along with me on all of this. Mary Stroka and my mom, Penny Bonnar, have actually sort of joined us on the cutting edge. But Alexis, talk about AI, how you felt going into it and what it's done to change your workday and how you approach your job and what you do now.
So, in all honesty, I was and still am hesitant on using it. I struggle sometimes a little bit still. It's hard to get into the groove of allowing yourself to trust something like that. And to be comfortable using it, especially when our work is so public. It's not something that's just us using it and utilizing it. It's consumed by mass amounts of people, and other publications across the state use our work with through the Wyoming News Exchange, and knowing that other journalists don't necessarily feel the same way about it as we do, there's a little bit of a like voice in the back of your head, like, is this okay? Should I? But the things that I'm using it for are things that we would have had interns or editors do for us anyways. Formatting, checking for AP style formatting on stories, spell checking, style guide issues, and then just formatting documents for us to then produce our Know the Dogies. It took me 3 minutes to give AI a prompt and have it format all of our questionnaires in the exact same format. And when I was doing it without AI, it was taking me 3 minutes a person.
Yeah.
And AI did 39 of them in 3 minutes. I can't do that. And that's something that it's also something we can't pay high school kids to do for us anymore either, because it's just not financial. It doesn't financially make sense, but you also don't want to pay me to do those things either because I'm expensive compared to an intern. So
Right.
where do you find the assistant? I like to think of it's more of an assistant. It's more of a help. It does the little silly things for me, the things that I don't have time to do, which gives me time to pay more attention to stories, to talk to people, to make sure that I'm asking additional questions that I might not have had the time to ask before. So I think that we're using the help where we can use it and where it's appropriate to use it without taking it too far at the same time. Like, I know that we're really good about please don't pull information off of the internet. Like, when we're writing stories, we make sure to strictly use the information that we have,
Mhm.
and not, like, I make it very clear, do not use any, this is strictly the information we have.
And for people who don't know our process is that all of our news stories go through three editors after the writer. So my mom is our copy editor. She sees every story after it's written, and she makes changes and has started utilizing AI for things like style sheets and AP style, um, and checks it and then reads through it herself as a human being. Then I look at stories. Almost every week, I do an edit on every news story that goes in the newsletter journal. Probably 95% of the stories I see before they print. And then on the back end, Kim Dean uh, does our proofreading and reads every story. So, and that said, people will be like, well, shit, how do you get the mistakes in the news? We do. Humans make mistakes, right? Um, One of the nice things about AI, and Mary Stroka, our one of our other reporters, was really reluctant for a lot of the reasons Alexis said to really engage with AI and trust it to be a partner in the writing process with her. And she discovered it was she had her revelatory moment a week and a half ago. And it was uncomfortable. We had to have some uncomfortable conversations to get her there. Um, but AI caught a mistake that neither she or mom had caught in one of her stories, and it made her realize that it is just an extra tool. It is. And one of the presenters that I saw at the AI conference, he came in from the East Coast. He was actually a Fort Lewis graduate who now works with a big firm somewhere out in the East. And he said his job in his company is to identify the things people hate to do or aren't good at and eliminate them and use AI to eliminate them. In other words, whatever the organization's or the employee's weakness is, the best use of AI is to have AI do that, to do what the employee is weakest at and free up the employee or the organization to do what it's strongest at. And so that's what I think defines appropriate use of AI. I think you've got to have the human element in it. I mean, shock of shock, people have noticed that I've started writing the sports again for the newsletter journal. I'm putting quotation marks in the air when I say that because you know what? I write the sports with my AI assistant. And I couldn't be able to do it otherwise. Our sports, our support for sports, as far as spending and sponsorship in the newsletter journal, has has all but disappeared. I mean, it is less than a third of what it was, 5, 10 years ago. Purely from a financial standpoint of a business, we couldn't afford to keep putting the human investment into our sports coverage that we had been. It costs a lot to have a writer, the photographers run around doing know your dogies that we added this year. We used to do game day graphics on social media. We've done it. We used to announce the games on the NFHS network, right? We've tried so many things to really ignite financial support for sports coverage in Weston County, and it just keeps dwindling and dwindling. So we had to make a change in that part of the operation, and I took sports over again. And I will freely tell you, I've got a very easy system so that I can do sports much more quickly and efficiently every week. I've got all sorts of other things I need to do, so I couldn't have added that to my plate in the old way that I used to do sports when I first started out. And so, yes, you can say sports are written by AI or whatever. You can say they're written by AI and edited by me and everybody else, because that's the other thing. If you just plug all sorts of information into AI, which is, and we use Chat GPT as our primary, um, but you gather the information, you get the stats. One of the nice things about AI is that those stats are stored for the whole year. And I've created a custom GPT that I'm putting stats in. So when I get them each week from a coach, I get a few comments to go along with that. And I sit down with AI, put the story together, and it takes about 15 minutes of back and forth. I read it and I go, no, that's not the way I like it. And I make changes, and it learns from the changes I make, and the next time it does a little better job. Has it made mistakes? Have I and AI together made mistakes? You bet. Um, but I and other editors, or I as an editor and other humans have made mistakes. We've had plenty of mistakes get through, 4 layers of human beings. Now we've got 4 layers of human beings and a machine in there. I think the mistakes are going to be less ultimately. Um, but yeah, I get people are uncomfortable, but at the same time, the option is sports basically goes away, or you have coaches start writing their own stories. That's what a lot of small newspapers do. We've still got a whole lot of human beings on it. It frees us up to invest more in the photography end of it, getting some video. We've got Summer getting some stuff out on TikTok and Instagram, building a following for Dogie Sports there. And we launched the Know Your Dogies promotion this year. So I think the people, the Dogie fans and the Bobcat fans, it allows us to do a little Bobcat coverage too, right? So the sports fans in Weston County are actually getting more than they used to get, but it's costing us, the newsletter journal, less to provide that. And so at the end of the day, I think when you talk about appropriate use of AI from our end, as far as we produce a product for consumers, and the appropriate use of AI is when we can produce a better product for the consumers at a lower cost. And that's what we're doing right now. And we each have our different layer of comfort. None of us uses it exactly the same as the other thing, which is nice because it means we learn from each other.
Yeah, we're all getting the opportunity to teach each other. With our training yesterday, that was neat that Mary jumped on and and took over and kind of was like, "Hey, Bob, why don't you use AI?" Where because this was something you were going to try and go through the tedious way of doing it, and she's like, "I just made it do it for me." And
Yeah.
those are the things that we don't have time to do, the little tedious things of going in and deleting returns and stuff.
Yep.
And then I pointed out to you, like, think about how easy it's going to be to format our fair results this year. Something that used to take a human at least 8 to 16 hours, at least a full day, if not 2 full days, to sit there and go through and delete every enter and space and piece of information that's there in the files that we don't use.
Yeah.
And this year, we're going to be able to say, this is what we want it to look like, make this information look like that. And it's going to take AI an hour.
Not person of the year, our year in review next year
Yep.
is going to be done.
Decker's Market has been a family tradition that has proudly served Northeast Wyoming since the 1950s. Our attractive new store in Newcastle supports stores in Lusk and Sundance, so consumers in those communities don't have to drive an hour or more just to fight their way through crowded stores and big city traffic. The family proudly offers Northeast Wyoming shoppers variety, convenience, and competitive pricing without the hassle of travel. Go Broncos, go Pokes, go Dogies. Go to Deckers. We look forward to being a part of your family traditions for years to come.
And those are real savings for a business. I mean, and again, not to beat that drum but I mean, it's all around you. 8 Wyoming newspapers closed this year. Basically, went belly up, for lack of a better term. Rob, our partner, who owns a newsletter journal with me, he and his wife bought those newspapers and resurrected them. But I mean, it's real, folks, if you don't know it. And it's real for a lot of small businesses. And I guess that's the other part of it, Lexus. Having said we use it, different media companies are using it different ways. I mean, it's great at writing headlines. It does a nice job putting proposals together. It has been key to me writing so many grants and proposals and things like that. I'm building a statewide advertising campaign celebrating local governments who do a good job with transparency. We've got plenty around us that do a bad job, but we're launching through the Press Association a statewide campaign celebrating the ones who do it well. I'm building that out with AI. It's making it possible for me to do it much faster, and it's going to be systematic. So, I mean, it's just I'm going to get to add just a couple of new elements every month. Um, and I just couldn't have done them. I just couldn't have done all of these things. We've got an exciting announcement that'll be in the newsletter journal about another grant that I wrote. Um, that's going to be a big deal for Newcastle next summer. Um, I couldn't have done any of those things without getting over myself, setting my pride aside. Because let's face it, pride drives a lot of what keeps us from using AI. It's like there's no way a machine's going to do my job. Well, you know what? If the machine can do as good as you or close to as good as you, and it frees you up to do other more important things, then I think you got to rethink that. And that's where I'm at. I've been able to do so much in the last 3 or 4 months that I absolutely would not have been able to do if it wasn't for the use of artificial intelligence. And so my question to you, Alexis, is what do you say to the other small businesses around Newcastle or Weston County or Wyoming or the Black Hills who are struggling with anything? I know adoption of AI is not, I think I think local governments absolutely need to adopt this and streamline. They can make their services less expensive and they can actually provide a higher level of service to their consumers. Would you encourage does rural America need to get on board with this? That was sort of the theme of my conference on Tuesday. Do you think rural America, business organizations, governments need to get on board with this?
Yeah, and I think that there's ways that they can do that appropriately without because I can understand where some of the concerns. There's a lot of people that are hesitant about the technology. There's the access to information. If you use this technology, there's a safety layer there. So I could see. But I think there's ways for local governments, for even healthcare systems and stuff, to adopt AI policies that allow them to be productive and tackle some of those tedious tasks without putting their customers and patients at risk. Because I could see that concern. When you put stuff out there, there's more chance. I would hate to know it that my doctor was running all of my medical information through Chat GPT, some random website that everybody's got access to. I might be a little concerned about that. But there's ways you can have your own AI. You can have that technology built into your own systems without just picking a random website on the internet.
They do say healthcare is going to be an area where there's significant impact from
I
artificial
do
intelligence.
I do believe we just had a story about it. It was either Casper or Gillette. One of those local Wyoming hospitals was adopting an AI platform, going to start utilizing AI for transcriptions, coding, billing, transcribing doctor's notes. Those are the things that I can see it being great for, and that's something that you don't necessarily have to bring an outside entity into. That's something that you can have that system. We've all got program like every program comes with an AI anymore. Our Canva has an AI. Everything that's already on your computer almost always has its own AI.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of ways that you can utilize those without
Well, I think a lot of
perceiving.
people are utilizing AI and don't even know it yet.
Well, yeah, every time you type something into Google and ask it a question, it gives you an AI response first. It gives you a summary of the information on that topic from the top websites that it's going to spit out for you under that. It's saying, here's what you asked specifically in a condensed form. You don't have to go read this paper on this weird illness you just Googled. Here's what I'm going to tell you.
And that's one of the downsides for the newspaper industry, right? For AI is because sorry, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. If you go on Google and say, "Hey, tell me, what is the controversy about Becky Hadlock in Wyoming?" It will give you that. It will give you an AI response instead of giving you a Google search that would have brought you to the newsletter journal and to our website, which would have benefited us and our advertisers. Um, so that's one of the downsides of AI. And hey, that's, you know, for us as a business. So, and that's why I say it's, yes, there's downsides. I hope that people who don't completely trust it and who are skeptical, I'm all those things. And that's the type, I hope those types of people are using AI, one, so that they understand it. Um, and two, so that there's that kind of human element involved in the future of it. Because you're not, Donald Trump just, he has identified that America needs to be the leader, the world leader in this, to the point that he wants to override the ability of states. It's actually kind of an anti-Republican notion, right? He wants to deny states the ability to regulate AI. He wants that regulation to come from the federal government because he doesn't want states to interfere with the ability of the United States to lead the world in AI. It's coming. Who am I? I'm not going to stop it, right? So you need to learn how to use it responsibly. You need to know what the dangers are so you can recognize them. The sovereignty of AI, who owns that information, those sort of things, the privacy. There was a big session on that at this conference on Tuesday, and some it's scary, okay. But again, I can't do anything about the scary. Um, but the point that was made alongside it is that, they are full speed ahead in big cities doing this. And there's this economic gap between urban America and rural America that's been widening for 30 years. Um, Urban America, big markets are doing much better economically than rural America. That's just a reality. And just in the last 2 or 3 years, that rate has accelerated infinitely because urban America embraced AI first. And so, in some ways, rural America's got to keep up. There are dangers to the environment. The one presenter talked about, he tries to use it. It's his job to use AI to do things, but he started doing something on a spreadsheet that he could have used AI for. But he's like, yeah, I do try to limit myself because it does use a lot of water, right? There's a lot of environmentalist types in Colorado. Um, but then he said, but then I don't feel too bad because I know Taylor Swift's going to hop on a plane to have breakfast in Paris tomorrow morning. So she's going to do a lot more damage than I'm doing this. At which point, some lady jumped up, defended Taylor Swift, and walked out of the room. I swear to God, that actually happened.
Good Lord. That's pretty funny, actually, though. Defended Taylor Swift and walked out of the room. Because to be honest, those are the things that drive me the most nuts is those people screaming about the technology and the water and the electricity and the energy and stuff. And I'm like, do you not realize that Taylor Swift or any other celebrity drives like 4,000 trucks across the country every time they go to a new spot, and none of you are screaming about their pollution because you got to go buy a $300 outfit and watch Taylor Swift for $2,500? Like,
Well, she had her defender in the conference the other day. That lady left, and when the door well, no, it was actually when she first got up and defended her, the presenter looked at her and said, "Ah, Swifty," and that's when she left.
and she
But
was not having it then.
I mean, there are definitely downsides, but at the end of the day, I just think it's irresponsible to not take advantage of something that can allow you to do more with less, especially when you're in a struggling industry or in a struggling market, which is the case for the Newsletter Journal, certainly in Newcastle, Wyoming. But, Alexis, let's, talk a little bit about, government in small business application um, in Newcastle, but primarily government. I mean, do you think government, like I said, I feel responsible. I finally reached a point where I've been pounding this on you guys for months now. We owe it to our customers to use it, to do more with less. As they talk about cutting property taxes and everything in Wyoming and local governments behind the eight ball, I can't help but I know that this could be part of a solution for them. Um, is how do you think local governments in Weston County are going to adopt um, artificial intelligence? I'd say no to the Weston County Clerk's office, who's gone backwards and taking recordings off the website, taking budget documents off the website. She's actually gone backwards on technology in the last 6 years, so I doubt she's going to be much help to people. But do you think other governments in Weston County are going to embrace this and use it to be more efficient and affordable and better servants?
Um,
Or are they going to lag?
I think that Newcastle and Weston County lags in a lot of ways. I've always joked, and I obviously don't live there anymore, that living there was like living back in, like going back in time, like there was
Which isn't
just,
always a bad thing. I love that
oh,
part of it for years,
and
right?
me too, like 100% love that. I always feel like, we didn't have fiber optic as fast as other people's. We didn't have Wi-Fi. Like it was a lot slower there when technology advanced. And I think that some people are still struggling to catch up with all of that because it's not a part of our everyday life. Electric vehicles, self-driving cars, buses, and technology that talks to you in public, billboards that dance in front of your face. I think
Those
that
little scooters.
the little scooters, I think obviously larger, more urban areas are going to have way faster access to that information. For heck's sakes, there's places in America that have grocery stores that have no people working there. You literally go in and the cameras watch you, and everything you put in your cart, it just automatically charges you for when you walk out the door. Ping, your Apple Pay, your money's gone. And I think that because Wyoming, and not just Newcastle, but Wyoming in a way is kind of behind the curveball on those things. We're a very rural state. Then they're more hesitant about those things. But I would really like to see the people that have the ability to embrace this technology try and do so. I'd like to see people at the courthouse using it. I'd like to see some of our teachers teaching children the appropriate way to use it. Obviously, children still need to know how to write, and children need to know how to critical think for themselves and stuff. But I think that there's ways that Chat GPT and these online AIs could help these kids be more productive without having to be overwhelmed. I think we put a lot on kids, and I think that there's ways that it can be used appropriately. And I'd like to see the people there embrace it and expose people to it before, especially the kids, before they get to college, before they get to these big places where they're then overwhelmed by it all and they don't have a chance to even consider what it might do for them because they're like, oh my God, this is scary. I've never even heard of this. I'm overwhelmed. Like even moving our kids to a bigger school district down here, there's things that our kids have access to in the schools that they would never get a chance at even learning about or doing at a school in, especially Newcastle or Weston County.
Well, I think AI can close those gaps. Everything you talked about, right? With, things come to Newcastle 5 years after the rest of the
Yep.
world and stuff. I think that contributes to those 30-year graphs that I looked at the conference on Tuesday that showed that divide between urban America and rural America economically, and how much, how much stronger the economy is in the bigger places and how much the rural economies have suffered in 30 years. I think that's part of it, right? We've had this cutting edge stuff, and I think AI is one of those things that we can in rural America, and Durango's still pretty rural. I mean, it seems like a big city if you're sitting in Newcastle looking at it, but it's a pretty small town still. Um, that we can just fall further behind, or we can use AI to keep up or even catch up. And it's funny you talk about education. One of the first presenters in the first panel was the superintendent of schools down here in Durango, and they have embraced the use of AI at all levels in the district. Even at that, we know that there's some staff members who don't. Just like in any bit, you've got, I mean, I'd say the NLJ is probably about 50-50 right now. I've still got some people who really, really do not want to use it. Um, but the superintendent of schools down here said she noticed that, and this one really, man, it really convicted me, sort of hit my heart. She said, if you really get into the weeds with the people who are opposed to the use of AI in education and just sort of want to keep it out of the schools, she said those are people who are good at education, whether it's teachers or students. The people who are high flyers are threatened by it a little bit because it does have the ability to help students who struggle, even teachers who struggle, to get better and to be as good as their peers. Um, and that sort of made it hard. And this tool is going to be available to these kids in their life. So yeah, I think teaching them how to use it responsibly, appropriately. And there is so much potential for abuse in the use of AI. There really is. That's why we talked about having these podcasts so that people could hear from us, know us, trust us or not trust us, whatever. They can make their own decision. Use of AI has those sort of pitfalls, and that's why no, don't trust it. Be skeptical, but use it. Find out how it can be used appropriately. Um, don't force it on anybody, but at the same time, don't shield people from it either. I mean, it's there. It's a reality, and yeah, I'm with you. Don't be cranking out kids who get to college and find out how far behind they are. Because this technology is really pretty incredible. And again, at the end of the day, man, if it can make us more productive and more efficient, I have a hard time saying no to it.
Well, and that's where I'm at, and I'm the same way. I think people need to understand that people are going to use it in their everyday life, and it doesn't make what they do or who they are any different. There's people out there that have assistants that follow them around and pick up after, like everybody at some level has somebody else that's doing things for them. And if technology is the thing doing it for you, embrace it. We all used to love the idea of having, they've been making TV shows about it for years, your house that does stuff for you.
Mhm.
You're able to tell, I don't know what I want to eat, and it's like, oh well, I read your saliva. Like people want some crazy stuff, and we always used to dream about it, and now that it's here, people are scared of it. Self-driving cars, electric vehicle, we've been seeing that stuff on TV for how long, hoverboards, all, and we get upset that we don't have the hoverboards and stuff, but the technology we do have that was in those same shows, we shun it, and we are scared of it, and we don't want to embrace it. And I think every one of us that was sitting around in the 80s and 90s watching those TV shows would be very mad at ourselves as adults now if we weren't taking advantage of all the cool stuff little kids us wanted to play with. Um, so like
Yeah,
I
you could say we live in a scary time, but I think we live in an exciting. I cannot believe that in my lifetime this is happening. I mean,
yeah.
it is absolutely crazy. And you're right. I spent years saying, man, I wish I had a personal assistant because then I could do this and this and this and this. For the last 3 or 4 months, I've been doing this and this and this and this because I now have a personal assistant. I created it myself. I train it myself every day. Um, it's better than what I used to dream of having in a
Well,
lot of
and heck,
respects.
nowadays you get to pick its personality. So you don't
Yeah.
even have to like interview people or anything. You can be like, I want you to be sassy and snap back at me and tell me I'm stupid or whatever. You can do whatever you want with it. It can be chill, it can be super professional, it can be degrading. Like they've got lots of options now about how you want to be talked to by your chat GPT and stuff. Like
And it can help us do. I'm so excited for what we can do with it as a business and what we can I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff that people see, you can see on social media, and you're seeing more and more of it. And we're going to do some of that fun stuff too. I'll let you know right now, going into 26, we're going to let AI do some content creation. We're going to experiment with it for entertainment purposes, right? We're a media company now. We do try to entertain and inform. And jumping on, we've got a little bit of a guest here. We're not going to be on for much longer, but I think Summer has joined us. Summer Bonnar, who runs our Instagram and TikTok and works with our interns, has been trying to build a younger following. And Summer's in college, about ready to graduate in May from the University of Arizona in Tucson. And Summer, you're young. Yesterday, I was joking with you about you never had to rewind a cassette tape. Um,
Yeah.
where you, I mean, what about all of us old folks? I feel kind of hip and modern and young because I've embraced this and I've spent the last 3 or 4 years trying to embrace what's new in media. So AI was just a natural progression of that. But you look at it a different way. I mean, how
Yeah.
prevalent is it in college? How much is it being used? I know you use it on some social media stuff. What do people your age think about it, or do people your age just kind of go, "Oh yeah, it's what we expected the world to be."
See, I think I have an interesting perspective on it because I use it for work, obviously, with the newspaper and with you. And then, yeah, as a college student, I'm around a bunch of kids my age that use it. And I do think that is what scares me. I do think that there's a time and a place for AI. And like you guys are saying, like it can be an assistant. But I do understand when some people voice concerns about using it in schools, especially as a college student. I don't want my future doctor getting their degree with AI. So I don't know. I think there is a time and a place for everything. And I intern for a law office down here in Durango, and my attorney uses AI for a bunch of stuff in the office. So I do think it's helpful for work and productivity and all that. But after, like, you do have to have a skill set and a skill base before you use it as an assistant because you have to know what to put in to get the results that you want.
Well, and I think, Brad LaCroix, I don't think it was any secret. I did for years, I wrote all of Brad LaCroix's stuff, right? Brad LaCroix wouldn't need me to do that now. He
Yeah.
can use AI to do that, and he doesn't need to be a good writer, right? I, even for reporters now is being a good writer the top qualification for a reporter.
Well,
It used to be, but what I've always said was more important was having an eye to know where a story is, to know what information is important, to ask the good questions, and to provide the most valuable possible information to people. Now, if you're a good writer, it makes it much easier for them to consume. So if AI can help a good reporter be a better writer, I'm all for it because the consumer wins out in the end. Now, I don't justify laziness and we do have a lot of, there's a couple anecdotes I can share with you. One is the job market is crazy right now because everybody is using AI to fill out applications and resumes and write cover letters. And then AI, for the part of big companies, AI is reading all of the applications and resumes and cover letters. So it's basically just robots talking to each other. Um, I've even my boss at the school district down here um, had an exchange with somebody, and he said this guy, he said I could tell the first thing, and you can tell when you see something that's just straight written with AI that's got no real human interaction or anything else. It's a one prompt direction, and AI spits out an email. A lot of people use it to write their emails. So someone had written an email to the school district, and the school district personnel wasn't a great writer, so they used AI to respond. But he said after about three back and forths, it became clear that the person wasn't even reading his responses. It was just AI reading and responding. And so he finally just told the person, "Hey, come down to the office or give me a call. We aren't getting anywhere letting the robots argue on this." So, I mean, there's places where it's too much, right? But it's new
Yeah.
tech. I think we're finding where it's too much, and maybe some of these conversations didn't need to damn happen in the first place, and maybe we're learning that too. But because there's times when I've had long conversations that have taken an hour that I've gotten done with them and gone, Jiminy Christmas, we accomplished nothing there. Or where I've sat down and written an email for an hour and gotten a long one back and done that for a week with somebody and gone, we got nowhere here. Um, so yeah, I do. I mean, that even interests me. I don't think of that as being good or bad. I just think of it as being interesting, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I think what you were talking about with it having, or the taboo around it being in journalism and is being a
And
good
in
writer.
education,
Yeah,
education's a field where there's a taboo on it too.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, just going back to journalism, I think that AI is exactly the place that journalism belongs, because I don't think the main point of being a journalist is being a writer. I think it's providing information and getting information to the public. And if you can do that most effectively by using AI, especially like you use it for the sports stories, I think that's like the perfect place to utilize that tool. I write more feature type stories, and I think it'd be harder for me to get the human element. But if you're just providing information, spitting it out to the public, that's the perfect thing for AI to tackle.
Well, and part of what converted me in sports is where we had the first experiment. And I'll say two things about that. One, I realized it really solidified at press convention last year while I was watching the AI presentation that was telling us all how bad AI was going to be and take over the world and all the other stuff about it. It occurred to me that I had been reading AI generated sports stories on my phone for years, probably since COVID. Um, the quick stories that that show up on CBS Sportsline or ESPN without a byline right
Mm-hmm.
after a game that I use. I do some sports betting and stuff, so I like to read. Those are all AI generated, and so I was like, all right, so this has been going on for a while already, and I thought had sort of the same thought process as you, um, and decided to go ahead and try it, and so yeah, I felt that it was the perfect place to try it, and it honestly worked out very well and has led to us using it for other things. And I wanted to be the one who tried it. I wanted to be the first one to do it too. But yeah, we caught mistakes with it. We've had to train it to do things better. Um, but it does. It generates material for us, and people want content. And it allows us to generate more content while keeping the human element in it. I wouldn't have been as bold about doing this if we didn't have the three editor process behind every story that goes out. Um, that's the other thing that made me comfortable about doing it is that there's six eyeballs that see every story after the writer or creator of the story does it. So we've got plenty of human monitoring going on our use of AI, and I do encourage that. I encourage people to do that.
Well, yeah, because AI isn't better than a human, it's just faster.
It's better than some humans. I mean, it is. It's a better writer. Not everybody's a writer. That's one of the things I discovered. Oh, and that's the other thing I was going to say about AI. Most of my training over the years, I didn't go to journalism school, so my training in this field was from reading newspapers, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Casper Star Tribune when I was a kid. But they were all written of a style. Well, you know how AI originally learned from reading those same newspapers. So the next step after I tried it for writing and editing sports was I started running an AI edit on our reporter stories after I would edit a story. And then I would run the AI on it and I'd have AI edit the story. And it was like 90% the same as what I'd do to the story because AI had learned newspaper writing from the same sources I had. And so that's when I was like, holy smokes, am I, this takes me a half hour. And some stories you've had me edit, right? Sometimes I dang near completely rewrite your story, right? I take all of your
Yeah.
information and completely rearrange it. Um,
Well,
and
and I
and then I found
noticed,
out AI rearranged them the same way. So it was basically its approach to news writing was the same as mine, for all intents and purposes. And when I made that discovery, I was like, well, I really do need to be using it because, yeah, you're right. Instead of 30 minutes, it took 3 minutes. Because then I'd still read through it, but all the big cut and pasting had been done and all the real, and then it'd just be some finer point changes that I make to stories.
well, and I noticed that once I started putting my stories after I was done writing them into AI to edit them for AP style, I noticed that my edits got cut in half.
Hmm. Yeah.
Same
Like
here.
it doesn't
Like
catch everything, but it does catch a lot.
one, yeah, because you go from Grandma Penny, right, going through and red marks everywhere because you capitalized something you weren't supposed to. Because that's the other thing people don't understand. Like newspaper writing is so different from how you learn to write in school. Like writing an essay for your English class in high school or college is nothing like writing a newspaper story. The
Yeah.
formatting is different. The things you capitalize are different. Punctuation's different. It's the rules are crazy and they change all the time. The AP style guide is constantly updating like on a yearly basis. And so when you're someone like us who learned through doing and never had real training, but then you also have something that's changing constantly that you're supposed to try and keep up with it. AI does that for you. But yeah, you go from having edits all over your story to like three little things that Penny catches that AI didn't catch. And
Exactly.
she would have caught them all before. It just gives her less to catch.
Yeah. It's
And
less
as
time for effort.
editors, instead of chasing capitalization, should you use a semicolon here or blah, 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 and all those things, we've now taken that time and directed it to, hey, why don't you go back and ask this one or two more questions from your source? Let's get a little deeper information on this. I think our stories have gotten better because of it. And so it isn't just that we're able to do it faster. I think we've gotten better as well. And that's what matters on the consumer end, right? Is that their product is better. On my end, as the owner, it's that my cost is lower. But it's been a double win for us because the product has been better too. And I think we're going to continue to get better as far as being reporters because of it.
Well, yeah, and I think it also gives us a unique opportunity to train new people as well and utilize that to help our interns to um, make them better, to help us engage them in different ways. And yeah, I think there's a lot of benefit all the way around. And like I've said, I really, really hope that we can see people in Newcastle start to embrace it in Weston County because the little things it does for us, the time consuming things, I could see that being a major benefit for a lot of people in Weston County, especially when you struggle with staffing and labor.
Some of those jobs, those one-man jobs, right? Chamber director. Like I said, a lot of government jobs where you're one person in an organization, fairgrounds director. Um, those types of jobs in Weston County where you're looking at cut budgets and things like that. Um, this is the way you're gonna not just survive, but potentially thrive. It can be a scary time in the world, or it can be an exciting time in the world. It depends on how you want to look at it. And Alexis, I'm glad you made that point, because the newsletter journal, hey, we're always hiring. I want more Newcastle people working at the newsletter journal. It's been really hard to hire over the years because the point I made with both of you is not everybody is a writer. So, we got 90% of the community thinks they can't write good enough to work for us. Well, you know what? You can. Because of this new tool, if that's your weakness, but you're passionate about the community, um, you care, you think it's important that the community has the information it needs to be a self-sustaining, growing community. If you have all those qualities, but you're not a great writer, come talk to me. Give us a call because now we have a tool that can help. Yeah, and I've hired bad writers over the years and helped turn them into good writers. This tool allows that to happen much more quickly. And yeah, it opens doors for people, I think, career wise and opportunity wise, that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So I do hope people in rural America take advantage of it.
Well, and what else I'm gonna say is we've talked a lot about using it for editing purposes and formatting and such like that. And people need to think out of the box with it too. There's no reason that those small businesses downtown can't be using Chat GPT to help them come up with engaging new ways to try and get customers in their door, or the schools that could help them create ideas for addressing issues. Like, AI is more than just let me do this task for you. It can help you brainstorm. It can help you come up with ideas. It can give you creative, out of the box thinking that uses knowledge from everywhere.
Mhm.
And people really need to not forget that option is there. And yeah, it can do so much for you, and it can be really fun, but it also can be really, really practical and do some amazing things for you and potentially your small business or Newcastle as a whole or Weston County as a whole. I'd love to see people, elected officials and county and city employees, try to use this to come up with some creative solutions to all these problems we're having. We struggle with ordinance enforcement. We struggle, Dublin Hughes has been struggling with how to word a junk ordinance, a junk vehicle ordinance. It'd be really interesting for him to jump on there and say, hey, help give me examples from across the country, not just looking at a few in Wyoming,
Right.
of these policies or these ordinances for areas comparable to Newcastle. You're going to get way more direct and stuff that's more applicable to Newcastle or Weston County as a whole than just looking at Cheyenne or Gillette, maybe.
And that is the perfect note to end this episode on, Alexis. Thank you for that. Because, yeah, I did want to end by encouraging people to explore it a little bit and by letting people know we will do our next virtual marketing mixer, online marketing mixer. We'll talk about this topic. And I'm going to do it. The other thing I'm going to do is kind of do it as a sort of lunch and learn. I've been doing these in the evening. Uh, Thought people would like to maybe pour a drink when they got home and learn about some of these new modern tools and some of the things that you can do to promote your business and help you succeed. Want to make that available still to the businesses in Weston County. And anybody who's wanting to learn more about this, I'll go ahead and do a workshop. I'll do it as a lunch and learn. Um, the week between Christmas and New Year's, we'll try and get one scheduled and out there for folks. If not the first week of the new year, we'll do it. And we'll focus on this topic a little bit and make ourselves available to visit people who have questions and maybe do a little screen sharing and run some demonstrations for people who would like to see how we're using the technology and what it can do, because we are transparent. We're an open book. Um, we will let you see, Alexis is using it for different things than I am and using it in different ways. Summer uses it differently. Um, my mom is using it to search archives and do stuff like that, which I think is really, really cool. Um, I mean, there's a lot of different ways. And yeah, you're right. Our Christmas lights cruise maps that I have made myself the last few years, Mary Stroka is going to make them for us this year because she actually beat me to figuring out how to have Chat GPT help with that. And cranked out Upton's map is basically done. And Mary will have Newcastle's map done with the help of some interns who are checking addresses and stuff. She'll have that out, and we'll have it in Nuke Now Monday and in the paper next week. So yeah, we'll show people how we're using it and share some of that, and be willing to brainstorm with you if you've got ideas for your business, your organization, if you work for government and want to see what this potentially could do for you. If you've just been scared to death of it, join us. We'll do a lunch and learn virtual mixer to sort of expose you to some of the AI stuff that we've been doing and what the possibilities might be to you. So, girls, thanks for coming on the show and visiting with us this week about it and talking about your journey with AI so far.
Yeah.
Very welcome.
And thanks to Zarek for being a good boy and letting us get another podcast done. You might have heard him a little bit in the background, but not as much as we thought you were going to hear him at the beginning. You had Aunt Summer here to play with this week. And in closing, we do just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody, all of our listeners. Thank you for supporting us, not just this podcast, but the newsletter journal, newslj.com, our YouTube channel, our social media. Please reach out, email us, editor@newslj.com is my email. If you want to suggest a topic for the podcast, if you'd like to be on the podcast, think you've got something interesting to talk about, if you're a government official who would like to connect with your constituents and share some information, or if you're a business owner or in an industry that you think is interesting, we'd love to share that one of these weeks on the Top of Maine podcast with people. Again, thank you to all of you who listen and follow and support us. Do not forget the Unabridged Fund that we have launched. You can find information on it. Click on the ad at the top of newslj.com. You can donate to us and support local news in this ever-changing and challenging environment. We're proud of what we do for you in Newcastle and Weston County and want to continue to do that, and do appreciate the support we can get financially through subscriptions and through the donations to the Unabridged Fund. Again, you can find ways to do that on newslj.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to our weekly newsletter, Nuke Now, which comes out every Monday. You'll have that in your email box this Monday as well. Merry Christmas, Weston County. God bless you, Newcastle. Thank you for joining us this week and learning more about Weston County, Wyoming, and your world. Go to newslj.com/podcast to access archived episodes of our show. You can also follow us or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, and other great platforms.